All right. Come on. All right. Some of the housekeeping that we have to do. For attendance, please put an X beside your name. I don't know why this is really slow. Is it really slow on your viewing? Yeah, okay. Put an X, so this indicating that you're attending. All right. If you're not here, what happens is that that list is going to get forwarded to directors. So if you're not attending, then you're not attending the session. The second thing I'm going to talk about is that keep up with your skill. Take the necessary training at BCIT if you think that you need more extra training, all right, or else you can do it through self-learning at online using YouTube or other means. Right now, for a lot of my session, I'm going to be doing mostly intermediate to advanced AutoCAD and Revit session. The reason why is that there's no point for me to talk about basic stuff when we are going to be going full steam ahead into the BIM process. And I'm only going to doing refreshing and specialized session. Let's say if we want a refresher, only by request. If you have a request, we're going to do it in a small group. All right, this big session is going to be all intermediate and advanced stuff. Ah, okay, blue screen. All right, I got to switch to another. Sorry about that. Okay, that's always happens. So what I can do is that. Yeah, sorry guys, I just experienced blue screen. Users to choose which date works for them, and also we need to cover more users, not only us, also back east, right? They're like right now they're like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So if I do it in the morning, it works for them. But if I do it in the afternoon, it doesn't work for them. So there you go. All right. Now the real Revit problems. Revit annotation works if the client don't change. Okay, they don't request any change, but annotation doesn't work if the model constantly changing. Everybody experiences this if you're working with Revit. So if you don't understand what's the difference between the model and annotation, there's 2 separate objects. Model, it just basically shows up in all view, and annotation is view dependent. It's just 101. If you really never get into Revit, that's what it does. For a lot of the Revit users, they don't really check for missing annotation. Let's say they move an object or add an object. They don't check the sheet view to see that if annotation is added there. Okay. They don't check if annotation is placed in the correct location. So sometimes when you move, let's say a room or something, they don't check if the annotation is placed in the correct location. You always get this question mark. Now the other thing is that every time when you do any annotation, if it's gone missing, you have to retag them, and it's annoying, really annoying to retag a lot of these tags. So what I come up with is that you could use embedded generic annotation, but there is a limitation. It only works with component families and not system families. If you don't know what's component and system families, here's just the example. System means that wall, roofs, floor, ceilings. Component means that it's user-created, kind of like Revit. So if you have families, you can actually embed it in your objects. This embedded generic annotation will only work with floor plans. It does not work with section and elevations. I tried, it doesn't work. Okay. Hopefully in the future there's a workaround. Text will only stay horizontal by default. If you need to add some special parameter, make it look horizontal, you can have to add a parameter, rotation parameters. Okay. Now for topic for today, again, I'm just going to show you 4 things. First thing I'm going to show you is that showing you generic annotation and how it works. Second, I'm going to show you how to embed a generic annotation to family. Third, I'm just going to show you how to create a custom dimension that sticks around so it doesn't disappear on you. And fourth, I'm going to create spot elevation that also sticks around. All right. So hopefully for the learning outcome, it basically shows you how to reduce the need of retagging. All right. It will not eliminate retagging, but you kind of have to kind of reduce the amount of retagging. Also, use the custom dimension as a code report or quantity control. So I'm going to show you what you can do with this custom parameters so you can actually use it for your quality control in your project. And use generic annotation to do your calculation and less reliance on outside software. I know that some of us were using Excel or calculator just to do our checking, but you can use generic annotation to do pretty much what you want. All right, so I'm just going to move forward to the Revit. All right, let's start with the new template. All right, I'm going to start a new project, and then I'm going to start the new template.
Simon?
Yep.
Sorry, we're not seeing any change in your screen.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
So I don't know, connection error or what.
No, I can't see.
All right, so I click on that, show my screen. Do you see it?
We can see the screen, but if you advanced any slides, we haven't seen that. And
okay.
We can't see that you've got your application window open either.
Oh, okay. That's very weird. Okay. Anyways, this is going to be recorded, so if you miss anything, I'll just you could just listen to the recording as well. Or else what you could do is that you can quit out of it and then come back, and I think it should show your screen. I think this is a GoToMeeting glitch. Oh, I did. Oh, stop. Oh, stop showing. All right, and then show. Now, do you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's working better now.
So I'm just going to basically start the new project template, and I'm just going to start with the new family. So the first thing I'm going to do is that you go to Annotations. Now, what happens is that a lot of people say generic annotation just does nothing. Okay, it's one of the most underrated kind of utilities inside Revit. Now, what generic annotation does is that it's just like AutoCAD. When you create an annotation, it's kind of like a dumb block, and you can just fill in whatever information you want. So generic annotations like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this up, generic annotation. First thing I'm going to do is just delete this. I'm using a scroll mouse, so excuse me, kind of like a little bit sloppy because I don't have any mouse. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go home. You click on label. All right. The first thing you're going to do is that when you first edit a label, you see that there is no parameters. There is no parameters or anything. So what you have to do here is that you have to create your own parameters. Now, within this parameters, what happens is that you can select what you want. You can go text, integers, numbers, length, etc., etc. So the first thing I'm going to do is that, let's say if you want to do a simple calculation between comparing two areas. One area is the solid area, the other one is the glass area. All right. Typically how I would do it is that I put this, and then I'm just going to call solid area. All right. And I always put instance so that you can actually manually input it. Okay. If the design change, you can just type it in really fast. If you put type, means that it's going to be appearing in all the calculations. All right. I'm just going to put solid area. Next, I'm just going to create areas. All right. And say glass and put an instance. All right. So I'm just going to put it up there, and I'm just going to break it. All right. Break so that you see. And then the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to create one called total area. Okay. Area. Now you have to be careful when you hit this and it say OK, it means that it's a done deal. So if you don't set up your number correctly, you have to delete the parameters and redo it again. So it's one thing you have to do is that always select the parameter you want to choose first. Then you type it in what kind of area you want to use. So I'm just going to say total area and an instance. And then down below, I'm just going to say add. And then I'm just going to put a break. So what you have is that if I zoom in, pardon me. Okay. So what you have is that you have the street parameters. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is that, let's say if I want to take glass and add solid equals the total. So what next thing you're going to do is that you're going to go here. This is your family types. And you see this total area. I'm just going to put in solid area plus glass area. Okay. So let's say if I'm going to put 1 and 1 and hit apply, you see it gives you 2. Okay, so this kind of helps you calculate your areas. You say, okay, there we go. Now, let's say for this kind of a scenario, you want to do, let's say, a percentage. Okay, see percentage, what kind of percentage you have in an area. Next thing you're going to do is that you're going to click on the label. Again, I'm going to add another one. Okay, I'm going to call it a number. All right. Now, you notice that it will not calculate percentage. So what you have to do is that you have to pick number. All right? If you have to do any calculations, what happens is that you have to take one area divided by area. If you know your high school math, area divided by area is just a pure number. Okay? I'm rusty, but that's what it does. Okay? That's how Revit reads it. All right, so this one I'm just going to call this glass ratio. And I'm going to put an instance. And I'm going to put it here. And I'm just going to put it up there with the glass. I'm going to change the break so that you see there's a glass, area first and then glass ratio. Next, I'm going to create a number. And I'm just going to go solid ratio. You know, it's pretty simple stuff. I'm just showing you how to do a simple stuff so that you don't rely on other software. So I'm just going to add, and then just go up. Say, I'm going to change that break, and hit OK. Now, you're not really done yet, because what happens is that if you want to change this number to percentage, first you select this ratio. You see there's the edit parameter unit format. You can click on this. Instead of using the default, now you have this percentage number. So there you go. I'm just going to put a percentage, and I'm just going to put it 2 decimal places. All right, that's how you change it. So basically, this is what you do. Do the same thing again. And then you just change to percentage and say 2 decimal places and just say percentage. Okay? I'm just going to be formatted a little bit better, so I'm just going to put a class area, and then this is going to be solid area, and then total area. Okay. Sort of like that. I'll just make it left so you can see a little bit better and extend it like that. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is that you go back here. You see there's a value here. So what you're going to do is that the solid ratio is going to be this divided by total area. So I'm going to go solid area divided by total area. Okay, there you go, half. And then this one I'm going to go glass area divided by total area. All right, good. Now I'm going to load this into the project. Okay, I'm just going to place it somewhere there. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. No, well, it is case sensitive, yes. You have to be careful when you type it in, make sure they're the same. Okay. Now, what you can do with this is that you can just put in any figures. Let's say if I want, like, let's say I have a solid area. Let's say you created a schedule. Okay, you have a schedule. The problem with Revit schedule is that it does not differentiate between the solid walls and the curtain panels. Okay, it doesn't do it. So this, what it does is that when you create this annotations, you can just put in your walls, and then I'll say my area is going to be 2,500, and you say that glass area is 62.5%, and then that one is 37.5. So it allows you to kind of like do this really, really quick design. Okay, if you want to measure certain walls, you just use this, and then that's it. Any questions so far? This is how generic annotation. You could do it really, really complicated. You can do sine wave, cosine, if you want to do like really, really special slope calculation, volume. This does it, okay? And generic annotation will do a lot of the stuff. Excuse for my formatting, okay? You guys kind of get what I mean, what I'm doing right here, right? All right, any questions so far before I'm moving on to the next part? Okay, that's part 1. Okay, next I'm going to show you part 2. All right, part 2. No questions. All right, imagine you have, let's say you want to create a site, for instance. Everybody creates a property line. All right, I'm just going to do a sketch. Okay, just a regular sketch, and finished. All right, that's typical how we do things. And then what happens is that this particular building, I'm going to go into north. I'm just going to array this. Array from here to there, and then let's say make that 12 levels. All right, now what happens is that, let's say if you want to kind of like put in the text called this is a property line. How would you do it? You create a text. All right, you create a text. Typically, that's just how a lot of projects are doing. So it's property line. You just type it in. All right, and then you basically just rotate it. And if you want to make it show up in multiple levels, it's going to go view. let me create all the levels first. Plan view, floor plans. I'm just going to create all this. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, you want that thing to show up in your other views. Let's say floor plans. Oh, I should put this in the correct sheet so that you can see it. So let's say 3 to 13, for instance. Yeah. Scroll it down. Come on. Yeah. Sheet view. All right. So let's say, for instance, you want level 1, level 2, and all the levels to show up properly aligned. Conventional speaking, you could probably group this up and then copy it up, or you can just copy this and then paste it up to the other level. The problem with this is that there's several issues with copying text. One thing is that it's always getting moved. All right. If you do a group accidentally, user always select the group first. Like whatever you do inside Revit, it's always going to select the group first. Second is that if you have to change, let's say this is not a group, when you change one property line, you added more information, change your text 12 different times. So that's a lot of work. So what I come up with another method that you can actually create using generic annotation. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a family. All right. Now you can use any template you want. Okay. But it depends on what you want to use with the template. If you want to tag them, like you do not want to schedule them, you can use pretty much like any tag. I typically like site because if you're creating a tag from the site, it hosted on topography, all right? But if you're doing this for, let's say, rooms, all right, if you want to like replace your rooms with this object, then you have to use something else. I think probably furniture would be best because it's hosted by level. Site does not host by level. But anyways, I'm just going to go there and just use the site template. Okay? First thing I'm going to do is that I'm just going to create another family called generic annotation. All right, generic annotation. I'm just going to delete this. Hit delete, and the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm just going to put label, and I'm just going to call this text. All right, put an instance, and make sure that it's under text, falls under text category. All right, say OK. Now you can save. All right. For now, for this demonstration purposes, I'm not going to save, so I'm going to load it into family 2. All right. I'm just going to put it in there. Okay. That's just an annotation, and when you click on this, you see the text. Just host it with. You can put it, type comments, or etc. But for this case, I'm just going to create my own. Call it instance. You can put it to share parameter if you want to schedule them, but for this case, I don't want to. So I'm just going to go just go text, and hit OK. Now, you're not done yet, because the reason why is that when you place this object inside the family, it only appears in one level. It does not appear in multiple levels. So the next thing you have to do is you need to create a model line. All right. I always put a model line here. Okay. Just put it there. The reason why the circle is in there is because you can select it. This generic annotation gets really, really tricky when you select that object. So if you put an object in there, I typically just put it in there just so that you can actually select that object easily. Okay, put it in. I would just say if you want to, do not want to make that thing show up, then put it under invisible line, if you can find invisible line. There we go, right there. Right, so it doesn't show when you plot. Next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to front, and I'm going to add a parameter, all right, reference plane. Now, this height parameter just tells Revit how high you want that text to go, so that when you, let's say if it hits 200 feet, then any level that cuts into there will show up that text. All right, so here I'm just going to go into dimension. Okay, just put a dimension. I don't care about the height at the moment. Okay, select it and just say add a parameter. Yeah, I think that one's from that computer. It's constantly blue screen. All right, next thing I'm going to do is add a model. Again, I'm just going to put invisible line. Okay, put it there and put it up there. And then for the height, I would just say put it as an instance parameter. The reason why is that if you make it a height, all other ones going to be controlled by the same thing. So if you have a little bit of control for one or the other, then you can just do that. Right. So then after that, I'm just going to load into a project. All right, project 1. Now you can't see it because it's a bit too small. I'm going to delete this. All right. So I'm going to make this thing 1 to 500 so you can see it. I'm going to delete that. Delete. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. Okay, so here I'm just going to click on this object, and I'm just going to call this property line. Okay, right there. Now, let's say if I want to make that object appears in, let's say, level 13. All right, I'm just going to go level 13, go right-click, select previous, and the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm just going to change this to like 200 feet. And you notice that your property line appears. So you're actually using one object to represent 15 other, okay? That's how powerful you can use, so it actually sticks around, okay? So you're no longer using grouping and stuff like that. You just use one, and then that's it. Just leave it as it is. Any questions so far? No? Pretty trick, right? Neat trick. All right. Next I'm going to do is I'm going to show you embedded, like let's say a lot of us, we're using door tags, right? Door tags. The problem with door tags is that when you copy stuff, it just does a lot of things. So I'm just going to create really simple stuff. I'm going to create a wall. All right, just put a simple wall there. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. All right, let's say if I want to put a door. A lot of time what happens is that when you copy this object, the tag doesn't follow with it. That's the unfortunate thing. So what you can do here is that you could put that tag inside that door so that every time when you copy it, it's going to be there. So here I'm just going to go edit. Very simple. Just go to plan. I'm just going to create another generic annotation. I should be closing all this so that I don't get confused between yeah, I should be closing some of this. Yeah. I'm just going to close out of this. No. Just keep a house clean. No. I'm going to close this. I don't know why. Come on, close it. No. I'm just going to create a new family. Okay. Same thing, generic annotations. In here, just delete it. And I'm going to zoom in closer. Now this one you can just put in any values. For this one, I'm just going to put in door number, and I'm just going to put a text and put it as an instance. And then you can just draw in any graphics you want. Nice thing about the generic annotation is that you can actually draw in any graphics. You can just draw in. I'm just going to draw in a simple rectangle. Put a simple. Just put a circle. See that? Okay, next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to just load it in. Now, before I do that loading in, it's always a good idea to keep this. Okay. If you have this on check, every time when a door rotates, it's going to rotate the object itself, so it's not going to read correctly. So I always said just keep this on. Right, and I'm just going to load it into, let's say, single flushed. Okay, just put it in there. All right, next thing you're going to do is that, okay, for this door number, now if you want to link it to, let's say, schedule, then I'll just say add a parameter and do a share parameter. I typically pick like some of the other door number, let's say door number. Say OK. And I'm just going to load it in to the project. Override. Okay, you see that there are door tags there. It's a bit big, so I'll probably do 1 to 50. I'll zoom in closer. Now the door is not linked yet because I haven't added in the project parameters. I'm just going to add a project parameter, just a share. Now, for a share parameter, if you really want to use share parameter, it's a good idea because it allows you to actually schedule. If you don't use it, it means that a lot of the text that you created with generic annotation is not going to get scheduled. So it's a good idea to put it as a shared. They hit OK, and now what I can do is that this object, let's see, number. There is a number. Oh, where did it go? Do you see it? I did something wrong. But you get the point. Okay, and what happens, the nicest thing about this is that when you click on this and you stretch it, your annotation falls. Okay, you no longer need to, like, you can just copy this annotations. It also falls with it. So it just reduces the number of, like, re-tagging. All right, this helps you tremendously. Any questions so far before we go?
Yeah. But if you in the usability, you turn off the or
Okay, the question is that if you go to VV, you turn off doors, well, the tag shows, right? Is that what you're saying?
in the annotation, if you turn off the door tag.
It's under generic annotation. Let's say click on this. Yeah. It falls under category. If you type in VV, it's under generic annotations. All right. You could do it. All right. You could create a subcategory and say, fortunately for text, it does not fall under any category. It falls under text. It just falls under generic annotation. It doesn't fall under subcategory. So if you want to turn it off, it's a bit hard. That's the only drawback. You can have as many generic annotations as you want. Okay. Okay. The next thing I'm going to show you is how you create a custom dimensions. Sometimes you want to do it in either detail or you want to do a model. All right. Today I'm going to show you how to create it in a model, but details follows the same principle. Okay. The first thing you're going to do is that select family. All right. Start off with generic line base, generic model line base. All right. Right there. Next thing you're going to do is that you're going to do family annotations, and you're going to use generic annotations. For this one, I'm just going to delete. And now the first annotation you're going to put in is the length. So I'm just going to create a length. And this one, you want to put it in an instance. And hit OK. All right, so here I'm just going to zoom in. So it looks like that. But make sure you make it somewhere in the middle so that you can actually use those crosses, the reference plane, as your kind of like locking mechanism. All right, I'm just going to load it in, just a simple thing. I think it's family 6 now, I think. All right. Okay. Now the next thing you're going to do is that you're going to make it reference to this length. So select that family, click on this, okay, length, and then just reference to a length. There we go. All right. Now, if you want to reference to a different units, go back. All right. I'm just going to create a new annotations, or you can use the same one. Let's use the same one. Here, I'm just going to go edit this label. Let's say you want a length in meters. You know how people bitch about Revit that can't do both units? This is how you do it. All right, so here I'm just going to break it, and then I'm just going to change the length meter into meters. So you're basically showing 2 units instead of showing 1 unit. All right, you can have as many. Oh, I think it's. Did I choose the right one? Oh, I didn't choose the right one. So you have to be careful. Okay, I didn't choose the right one. So let's say 2 decimal places in meters. All right. This was a problem in our office because our district wants it in meters and we do it in imperial, so we kind of show the board.
Yeah, Simon, that works good for room tags for doing areas and stuff as well, especially in design.
Yep.
Often here we'll have square feet and meters squared, So the same, similar to what you're doing there, just do that when you're creating a room tag or area tag, and
Sure.
you can add
Yep.
both units and all your different BOMA calculations and whatever other, whatever else you want to add to it.
Sure. And then what you do is that you see that both of them is going to show 2 units, so basically you just make it the same. So there you go. Next thing I'm going to do is that I'm just going to create not a model line, but this one you can just use a symbolic line so it doesn't show up in your model. All right, so I'm just going to place it with that and just lock it. Now the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm just going to create a tick. You know how people bitch about Revit can't do customized tick? Now you can do it with this customized thing. So you can just go generic annotations and just delete that. And if you want to create your annotations, just go in there and just, let's say I'm going to do a fancy one. I'm just going to do a line. Let's do a squiggle. Let's see what it does. Let's say that's my tick, okay? And I'm just going to load it in. I think it's family 6. Load it in. Now, the next thing about this is that you can actually align it. You can align this with this. Oops, there. Oops. Come on, AL. And then you can pin it, and then you can just say align and pin it. I know that in civil engineering or transportation, you probably have to create your own different ticks. So this is kind of like a good way of doing it. All right, and you align it, and then align that, and then just lock it. Now, the problem with this annotation is that if you stretch this, this will not be in the center. So what you have to do is that if you want to make this annotation kind of like stretches with it, then I'll just add a simple reference plane. Okay, just lock it down with here, 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 and make it equal. And what you can do with this is that just align it. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to load it into your project, project 1, and make sure the placement is on work plane. You can place it on face, but I'd rather place it on work plane. So what you can do is that when you do a dimension, oh, I don't know why it didn't show up. Why?
Turn off
Oh.
generic annotation.
Thank you. You guys are paying attention. That's good. Oh, there we go. Pretty stuff. Now, the next thing about this this dimension is that you can actually chain it. And then when you tab it, hit tab, it actually selects the whole chain. Okay. Now, the practical use of this, I'm just going to show you the practical use. I'm setting up a Revit project. I'm just going to go to one of the sample projects. So to show you kind of like the power of what you could do with this kind of a, oops. How many guys create setbacks? Like you dimension a setback, right? What if you want to kind of like schedule that? With this, you can actually do it. Okay. I know that in the older days we just type it in, but what if your setback changes? All right, does not reflect changes in your plan, right? So it's a good idea if you put this real object, it actually means something. Okay, it's not some sort of a fake AutoCAD kind of a manipulation, right? Because that's what we always do. It's just like we just type it in, and then we forget about changing it in plan. So if you do this correctly, you know everything is BIM. Okay, you do it once, and then everything changes. So I'm just going to open up a sample project family. I'm just going to go to link. I think existing site. All right. So here what I have is that I have a corridor already dimension here. Okay. So right here I have a bunch of corridors. So let's say if I want to do a quick analysis, like how to calculate this. Let's say here, let's see if it meets code requirement. So the first thing I'm going to do is that check which family I'm using this. All right. Now, what I did with this one is that I just set them up as a really weird one. It's called nurse calling device. because since I know that nobody's going to be using that in our MVP. So if you want to use in like different type, yes, you can. But for this one, I probably have to change it to furniture, or you can use furniture system since we don't use it a lot. I'll change it to furniture system so that it can actually tag the level. And I'm just going to go OK. Now the next thing you're going to do is that since this is not tagged, like this dimension, the length, it's not calculated. All right. So what you have to do is that let's see if it's schedulable. If it's not schedulable, well, I'll come back and I'll show you how to make it schedulable. Right. I'm just going to load it back into the family here. All right. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a schedule, really simple schedule. I changed that to furniture system. All right. Just hit that. Next thing you're going to do is that does it show length? No, it doesn't. So it says level. Yes, I could add that in. Probably not manufactured. So when I click on this, you see that it doesn't show you there's a level. It only shows level, but nothing else. Oh, okay. Okay, let's go back to the previous one. Let's say if you want to make that unit show up in the schedule. Okay, let me go back. See if I can edit. Where is it? Open more views. Which one is it? Manual dimension. There you go. Yeah, I sent you a template of this, so you guys can actually play around with this. All right, the next thing you're going to do is that if you want to make this unit show up, first you're going to do is that you're going to add a parameter. Okay, it's going to be a length. It's going to be shared. All right, I want it to be instance. And then here I'm just going to go into, let's see, FSR. Probably FSR probably works the best because I have setback length. Now, the thing is that the funny thing about length is that it's going to show, if you select length, it's going to show you no, you can't do it. They choose to mean that. So here I'm just going to go with setback, instance, OK. Contain share length. Yeah, sure, why not? Say OK. Let's see. Do I have it in there? Oh, I do. OK, I'll just add another parameter. Sorry about that. I'm just going to add another parameter since I already kind of tested out on this. I'm just going to call it width, OK, just for E6. All right, so let's say for now, the width, you want the reference to this number. The only thing you have to do is just type in equals length. All right, this number will automatically just scheduled inside your Revit. Then hit OK, load it back in, and say OK. I'm going to go into schedule. Oops, too fast. All right, so it's under System Family Schedule. So here I'm just going to go Edit, Edit, and then I'm just going to add DC Width. There we go. All right, let's say you want to check and see if this meets the code. Now, the next thing you're going to do is that you're going to go click on this, click on Formatting, go to Width. I say you want to click on the conditional formatting. I explained this conditional formatting last week. If you don't know, what it does is that you can actually tell Revit if this condition is less than 4 feet or 3'8" in our jurisdiction, then highlight it in red. Okay? So when you click OK and OK, you see that, oh, immediately that pops into your mind. All right? So when you do a lot of code checking, this becomes really, really powerful. Okay? How many of you guys do a lot of code checking for like make sure? Yeah, if you set this up correctly, put a proper dimension, you can do this checking really easily, whether you meet the code or don't meet the code. Okay? Now the advantage of doing this is that you can actually go and click on this and say highlight in the model, but this one for some odd reason is not showing up. Let's say, oh, come on.
Can you check which code are you referring to?
No, it just depends on like your city of Vancouver. This city of Vancouver, it says that minimum width is like 3'8" or 4 feet or whatever. But you could set your number, whatever number you want. But it's just a code, a way to check whether your this is a corridor width meets the requirement. Okay. Any questions so far with this? Okay. let's move on to the last one. How many guys do, let's say, spot elevation tags? And then every time when you move like a wall or, no, move a floor or change the floor profile, all the tags disappears. Yeah, happens a lot. I'm pretty sure that you will encounter this, all right? So this is kind of the workaround. First you do is that set up, I would just say choose structural column. All right, choose structural column. You don't care about what's the inside information, just delete them. The first thing I'm going to do, how many attended last week's session? It's a similar concept, all right, except that I want to make it show up in your in the tags. Next, I'm going to just say family. And I'm just going to choose the generic annotation. All right. Just delete that. Next thing I have to do is put a label. Oops. And just put a length. Right? Make sure it's an instance. All right. Yeah, just put it there. And I'm just going to load it to the family. I don't know which one. 10 now? Yeah. All right. All right. So let's say that's your tag. Okay. Structural column. Good. Now, the next thing you're going to do is that you're going to go front elevation. All right. The next thing, you know how you reference this this dimension? This is not in any of the block or family editor tutorial. I kind of figured out that you can actually do this. Okay, first thing you do is to select this dimension, all right? And then the next thing you're going to do is that you're going to change this parameter to height. First thing it's going to do is that it's going to make it as an instance that's going to be reporting parameter. Okay? Now, what you do here is that you go back. Okay, I think I put in 2 value, delete that. Next thing you're going to do is that you're going to reference it to height. There we go, 9 feet. Okay. And then now, next thing you do is that you're going to be doing a model line. Okay, just do a big thing. The reason why I want to do this is because, again, I mentioned before, if you don't put this in, you're going to have a hard time selecting this annotation. This annotation just don't pick really well. So it's better to put in a model, some sort of object that you can actually pick. Next thing I'm going to do is that, yes, change this to invisible line. Now, for this particular object, I want it to be hosted not at the first level, but at the upper level. All right? The reason why is that the bottom level is going to be your first starting point, and then the last level is going to be your where you want to see it. All right? So let's say you have this. I'm going to load it in. Let's say I'm going to load it into project 1. All right? Say when you first started out, you see that's not showing up. Okay? You have no way of picking it. So this is why I said putting in model does help, because you can actually select those objects. Let's see if I want to have, whoop, I pick something up. Now the question is, right there. Okay? So right now it says the base level. So let's say I want to start from level, let's say level 1, and go to level 2. All right? So what's going to happen is that in level 2, your number is going to show up. See, 3 meters. All right? Let's say I'm going to go even further. Okay? I'm just going to make it, let's say I'm going to go create an elevation 0. All right? So here I'm just going to go create a reference plane. All right? I'm going to select all this. Hopefully this works. Unfortunately, yeah, this one. And I'm just going to move it up. Let's say, oh, weird number. Let's say 21.1, like that. Okay, weird number. Now, what you're going to do is that you have to have a constant elevation. So you have to create an elevation called elevation 0. So here I'm just going to create an elevation 0. Okay. Now your level 2, I'm going to go back to level 2. And I'm going to reference this back to level 0. Notice that the number changes. Okay. You can go units. I'm going to change it to meter. And the nice thing about this is that you can actually copy it. It's not related to, it's like a column, but it's kind of like you can actually copy this object. And then you can copy it at the same location, and then you can say reference it to the third level. Okay? You see that disappears and appears only on the third level. So it allows you to actually stick. The practical use of this is that you can actually create, let's say this is your floor slab. So let's say this is your floor slab, and you know that this thing is going to be, let's say, -3 inches or a foot, let's say, for instance. I know that a lot of us, we deal with this quite a bit. So what you can do is that you can actually tell it, first select the object, what that is, and then next you can do is that if this object has a reference, select that, then you can say this thing is going to be -1 feet. Okay? It's going to hide below it because it's the object how it shows. Oh, I see. It's the view range. All right. Just have to be careful with the view range. All right. This thing, let's say make it 5 feet. There we go. All right, make it show. So you can put a lot of the stuff in there. You can create a whole whack of stuff. You can do top of slab, bottom slab. You know, you can just do a lot. But it's just all reference to a level. So as long as it's reference to a level, as long as the level changes, this number will update itself. Okay, makes it really nice. It sticks, and you don't have to do much. Any questions so far? No question. That's good.
I have one.
All right.
This number is pulling from only the level. So if you have like an undulating slab, it wouldn't read the surface of that slab. It's only going to read the level.
That's correct, unfortunately. So yeah, that's the problem with this, is that it's only going to stick to whatever is reference to a slab. Now, you could do this. You could just reference to, let's say, if I want like 26.5 meters, you can do that same thing, and it will still pick up that number. You can still level 0, 0, and then you know that that's the proper elevation. Then you can just make it sticks to that elevation. Okay, that's the benefit of doing this. But unfortunately, yes, if you have undulating surfaces, no, it does not pick it up. It's only pick up based on whatever's in the level. All right?
Okay.
The roof.
Okay. Thanks.
Now this, no problem. This works really great if you have a top of parapets. All right, you have this, and then you add like value. Let's say it's going to be a foot or a foot, 2 foot high. Then this will automatically calculate for you. Okay. Hopefully this helps. And moving forward, we're going to be showing more and more of this in the project. All right, so make sure you know how this works. Because I know that some people say, oh, I don't know how it works, but today I'm just showing you. All right, no question, just, yeah, let me know.
So you actually can you download it and get something?
Okay, if you guys want like some sort of like some of the samples, you can always go lunch and learn and go into our folder. Like later on, we're going to be using SharePoint, so I have a lot of stuff inside inside our iDrive, which I think should be shared among a lot of the offices. All right, so I could say make annotation stick. Just go in there and then just go to sample families, and you can just look at that. All right. Today I didn't show you parking stalls. It's the same concept. All right. If you are doing a parking space, and then if you want to know that that's a regular parking stall, small stalls, or a handicap, you can actually put this tag inside so that you don't have to know if that's a small stall or not. Because I know that in generally, if you're creating a parking, it's not going to tell you if it's a small, right? If you look at the plan, it's not going to tell you if it's a small stall or regular stall. So by adding that generic annotation, it just helps you tremendously, so you don't have to re-tag them every time. All right, that's it for today. And if you have questions, just let me know. All right.
Hey, thanks, Simon. Bye-bye.